Okay, let's get into it. Today, we are unpacking the tremendous career and, well, the life of a true powerhouse of modern rock music, Oliver Taylor Hawkins.
For 2.5 decades, he was so much more than just the drummer for the Foo Fighters.
Absolutely. He was a multi-instrumentalist, a really powerful vocalist, and, a crucial co-writer who helped define the entire sound and energy of that band.
Yeah, and our analysis today is really designed to help you, the listener, get a handle on all of this. We've gone through the sources, the articles, interviews, all the research, and our mission is to make sure you can quickly and thoroughly grasp the key movements of his life.
The big collaborations.
The crucial collaborations, the pivotal moments. We need to cover that full, vibrant spectrum of his career, from his earliest local gigs right through the defining years in the Foo Fighters, his massive side projects, and then, of course, the circumstances surrounding his passing and that incredible global tribute.
And when we approach information that's this sensitive, particularly around health and his death, we are really committed to applying some rigorous critical thinking here.
hmm We're only going to report impartially what the facts presented in the source materials actually say.
Exactly. So before we map out that incredible timeline, let's just ground ourselves with a few foundational details.
Okay.
Taylor Hawkins was born on February 17th, 1972 in Fort Worth, Texas. But his family moved when he was young, right?
That's right. When he was just 4, in 1976, they relocated to Laguna Beach, California. And that really became the landscape for his whole musical development.
And his career was filled with these huge achievements. I mean, induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2021 with the Foo Fighters. That's massive.
It is. And on top of that, he had recognition from his peers and from critics. He was voted Best Rock Drummer back in 2005 by the influential British magazine Rhythm.
That award alone, I mean, it just speaks volumes about his status within the drumming community, even that early on.
It immediately positions him, even a decade and a half before he passed, as a defining rhythmic voice of his generation.
So that really sets the stage for where this journey began. Let's move into the foundations of his career.
Okay.
He was the youngest of 3 kids, growing up with his older brother Jason and sister Heather, and his early life in Southern California was just crucial.
It really was. He graduated from Laguna Beach High School in 1990.
And here's a fantastic little nugget of connection that I found. One of his friends from high school was a guy named John Davison,
Who would later go on to become the lead vocalist for the legendary progressive rock band.
Yes, exactly. It's an amazing connection.
That high school connection is often overlooked, but, given Hawkins's later stated love for prog rock complexity, he specifically mentioned bands like Rush. It kind of suggests those influences were already bubbling up, even in his teenage years.
So what was his first real band experience?
Well, his early hands-on band experience included playing in an Orange County-based group called Sylvia. But that eventually led to him securing a spot as the touring drummer for the Canadian-American rock artist Sass Jordan.
Which was a clear step up.
A huge step up toward professional touring.
But the real springboard, I think, the period that really launched him onto the global stage, was his time with Alanis Morissette. Can you just frame for us how huge that job was when he took it?
It was a massive inflection point in music history. I mean, Hawkins was Morissette's touring drummer from June 1995 until March of 1997.
And this was the era of Jagged Little Pill.
Precisely. That album wasn't just a hit. It was a cultural phenomenon. It defined the sound and really the emotional landscape of the entire mid-90s.
It was everywhere.
It exploded worldwide, sold millions and millions of copies, and the tour required playing these massive arenas and stadiums globally. For a young drummer, that experience was just invaluable.
I can't even imagine. It must have taught him how to handle huge crowds, how to maintain that rhythmic intensity night after night on a global scale.
And how to execute precision drumming under the most intense pressure.
And it's so critical to contextualize the status of the two bands at that moment. The sources all indicate that at that specific time, Alanis Morissette was...
Oh, she was arguably the bigger global act. The Foo Fighters were still relatively young, still establishing themselves after Dave Grohl's time in Nirvana.
Yeah.
And Hawkins was not just some session player hidden in the background either. His visibility was sky high. He was featured prominently in the music videos for some of the biggest songs of that era.
You ought to know.
You ought to know. All I really want, you learn. If you look at the visual record of that time, the Jagged Little Pill live DVD VHS that came out in 1997, he is the drummer driving all of that material.
It completely cemented his public image as this high-caliber rock performer long before he ever officially joined the Foo Fighters.
It gave him an exposure and a professional pedigree that frankly, few drummers ever achieved.
Yeah.
It just set the stage perfectly for the defining moment of his career.
And that defining moment is what we're getting into now, becoming a Foo Fighter.
Yeah,
The recruitment story is just legendary because of how unexpected it all was.
it really is.
Let's set the scene, because it was a turbulent time for the band around their second album, The Color and the Shape.
The Foo Fighters were absolutely in a period of change. After the 1996 tour and the early recording sessions with producer Gil Norton for that sophomore album, there was a lot of internal conflict.
Right, and the original drummer, William Goldsmith, he ended up leaving the band.
He did. So Grohl, stepping back into the role he'd held for the band's self-titled debut, took on this immense task of re-recording almost all of the drum tracks for The Color and the Shape himself.
And the album was released on May 20, 1997. Grohl had done the job, but he needed a permanent, full-time drummer.
He had to stabilize the lineup and tackle all the upcoming tours. He needed someone solid.
So Grohl picks up the phone. He knew Hawkins, and the story goes that he called him mostly just seeking recommendations for other drummers.
Yeah, which is amazing to think about now.
He genuinely assumed Hawkins was irreplaceable and perfectly happy with that massive Morissette gig.
And that assumption was completely logical. I mean, why would someone leave a guaranteed stadium gig with an established, wildly successful global phenomenon to join a band that was, still finding its definitive footing?
It's a huge risk.
A huge risk. Grohl was testing the waters for recommendations, but I think deep down he must have been aware of Hawkins' charisma and his talent.
And Hawkins just turned that simple phone call completely on its head. He didn't offer a recommendation.
He volunteered.
He volunteered himself. And his reasoning is so telling about his artistic drive. He said he wanted to be the drummer in a dedicated rock band, a fully realized group dynamic.
Right. Rather than just continuing in the role of a touring musician for a solo artist, the commitment to being part of a collective unit, that was paramount for him.
That distinction, that desire for band camaraderie and shared creative ownership, that was the pivot point.
It was. And the official announcement came swiftly after that, on March 18, 1997. And while the album was already complete with Grohl's drumming, Hawkins' public debut was in that high-energy music video for the single Monkey Wrench.
And the energy he brought, even just in that video, was immediately apparent. You could just feel it.
You really could.
And crucially, his contribution didn't stop at the rhythm section. I mean, his presence just quickly expanded beyond just playing the drums.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is his multi-instrumental depth. Over his 25 years with the band, he provided percussion, guitar, and piano on various recordings.
But most significantly, he became this essential secondary vocalist and, at times, the lead vocalist.
That added an entirely different layer to the band's sound. I mean, early in his tenure, he sang lead vocals on a cover of Pink Floyd's Have a Cigar.
And it wasn't just some throwaway track either. It was featured on the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack and as a B-side, so it got wide exposure.
It did, but that secondary voice truly broke through on their original material, too. You think of a song like Cold Day in the Sun from the 2005 album In Your Honor.
Not only did he sing lead on that, but it was later released as a single. That just demonstrates the band's confidence in his vocal presence.
And this continued well into the modern era of the band. He sang lead vocals on Sunday Rain from 2017's Concrete and Gold.
Right.
But maybe the most enduring memories of his vocal prowess come from the live shows. He was known for stepping out from behind the kit for covers.
Famously delivering Van Halen's Ain't Talking About Love.
Exactly. And in what is now such an emotionally poignant moment, he sang Queen's Somebody to Love during what tragically became his final concert performance with the band.
It's just a powerful illustration of his affinity for that classic rock showmanship.
It really is.
And beyond performance, he was just baked into the creative spine of the Foo Fighters. The sources clearly document that he was not just interpreting Grohl's vision, he was actively shaping it.
That's a great way to put it. He was listed as a co-writer on at least one song on every single Foo Fighters album, starting with There Is Nothing Left to Lose in 1999 and continuing all the way through Medicine at Midnight in 2021.
That consistency, 2 decades of co-writing, it just shows an irreplaceable creative partnership.
This point cannot be overstated. He wasn't simply polishing material, he was generating it.
Yep.
He co-wrote 3 songs that went on to win the Grammy Award for Best Rock Song, which Walk in 2012, Run in 2018, and Waiting on a War in 2022. And if you think about the themes of those songs, Walk is about resilience and recovery. Run is about escaping monotony. Waiting on a War explores intergenerational anxiety. These are massive, anthemic, emotionally complex tracks.
His input was clearly vital to the band's continued ability to produce these critically acclaimed, massive-selling rock anthems.
Absolutely.
His tenure with the band reached such an abrupt and incredibly emotional conclusion. His last live performance with the Foo Fighters was a huge show at the Lollapalooza Argentina Festival on March 20th, 2022.
And just 2 weeks later, the band secured 3 Grammys at the April 3, 2022 ceremony.
For Best Rock Performance, Best Rock Song, and Best Rock Album, a heartbreaking, posthumous recognition of the artistic peak they had really reached together.
It's a tremendous legacy to leave with that band, but that really only scratches the surface of his professional life.
Yeah.
We have to shift our focus now to his staggering work rate outside of the Foo Fighters, because for Taylor Hawkins, the main band was only half the story.
That's so true. Let's explore Taylor Hawkins, the collaborative musician. This man was creatively restless, just constantly forming new groups and lending his talent to a massive portfolio of session work.
And the story really starts with a career detour that would have fundamentally altered the landscape of 21st century rock.
You're talking about the offer from Guns N' Roses.
Exactly. In 2000, Guns N' Roses, in the midst of all their chaotic lineup changes, they reached out and offered Hawkins the drumming position to replace Josh Freese.
And he seriously considered it.
He did. This was a moment of deep professional contemplation for him. Could he leave the Foo Fighters, who were just hitting their stride, for this legendary, though, let's face it, unstable band?
And the sources tell us who stepped in to offer some counsel.
Queen drummer Roger Taylor, one of his heroes.
Roger Taylor convinced Hawkins to remain with the Foo Fighters, and that single piece of advice from one of his heroes arguably cemented the lineup that defined the Foo Fighters for the next 20 years.
And it saved Hawkins from entering what was, at the time, a far more volatile professional situation with Guns N' Roses. It really underscores his profound personal connections to that classic rock elite, which you see woven throughout his entire career.
So his primary vehicle for his own songwriting, where he could really take the reins, was Taylor Hawkins and the Coattail Riders.
Yes, he formed this project in 2004, stepping into that demanding dual role of drummer and lead vocalist.
The Coattail Riders, they released 3 studio albums across 13 years, the self-titled debut in 2006, Red Light Fever in 2010, and then the capstone, Get the Money, in 2019.
And the sheer dizzying star power he assembled for that final album really illustrates the immense respect he commanded in the industry.
I mean, just consider the guest roster for Get the Money. You see his closest collaborator, Dave Grohl.
Alongside legendary figures like Roger Taylor and Brian May of Queen, Joe Walsh from the Eagles, Chrissie Hynde of the Pretenders, and Nancy Wilson from Heart.
This wasn't just a collection of musicians. It was a rock summit meeting, and it was all convened by Hawkins.
And then there are the unique collaborations. He brought in country star Leanne Rimes, who sang on the track See You in Hell.
The ability to bridge genres like that, from Queen to country, it just shows an astonishing breadth of musical interest.
It really does. And the critical recognition for Get the Money was strong. Loudwire named it one of the 50 best rock efforts of 2019.
But beyond the Coattail Riders, he maintains several other unique groups, often at the same time.
Right. He formed Chevy Metal in 2013, which was a rock cover band dedicated to playing classic rock material. It was just a vehicle for pure fun and appreciation of the classics, and it often featured his drum technician and future collaborator, Wiley Hodgson.
Chevy Metal then sort of evolved into the Birds of Satan, a new side project announced in 2014.
And this group moved from covers to original material, featuring Hawkins, Hodgson on bass and vocals, and Mick Murphy on guitar. They released a self-titled album that year.
And the album release party was such an event that the Foo Fighters themselves actually guested on some of the cover tracks they played that night.
Which just shows you that intimate connection between his main job and his side endeavors. There was no separation.
What stands out is his drive to always be creating something new. I mean, even near the end of his life, he co-founded the supergroup NHC in 2020.
NHC, which stands for the Nighttime Boogie Association, was with 2 core members of Jane's Addiction, guitarist Dave Navarro and bassist Chris Chaney.
And in NHC, he again took on that really demanding dual role of lead vocals and drums. He described the band's sound, and this is a great quote, as being somewhere between Rush and the Faces.
That blend of complex progressive rock instrumentation with the loose, soulful swagger of British rock revivalists. It's a perfect reflection of his own influences.
They released an album in 2022 and made their live debut at Eddie Vedder's Ohana Festival in September 2021. This constant formation of high-profile, high-quality side projects just reveals a musician who could not stop creating and collaborating.
And we should also mention his participation in the SOS All-Stars, where he performed alongside his hero Roger Taylor and Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer Chad Smith at Live Earth in 2007. These high-level rhythmic collaborations just cemented his position as one of the most respected drummers of his era.
And his session work, it reached deep into the modern music landscape, often crossing genres you wouldn't necessarily expect.
Like in 2007, he recorded all the drum tracks for the highly complex conceptual album Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4, Volume 2, No World for Tomorrow by the progressive metal band Coheed and Cambria.
And he even toured briefly with them, which demonstrates his versatility to handle this incredibly technical material way outside of the Foo Fighters' established sound.
And of course, that enduring Queen connection, it's undeniable. It runs like a thread through his entire career. He played drums on Queen guitarist Brian May's 1998 solo album, Another World.
He was often invited to perform with the band, too, notably playing drums during their iconic We Will Rock You at VH1 Rock Honors in 2006.
And he provided backing vocals on the Queen. Plus, Paul Rodgers' single Celebrity.
That affinity for his heroes led to a truly unique moment involving the Beach Boys.
Yeah, this is a great story. Hawkins, along with Brian May and Roger Taylor, completed an unfinished recording by Beach Boys drummer Dennis Wilson titled Holy Man.
And Hawkins contributed newly written lyrics and vocals to the track, which was eventually released as a single for a record store day in 2019. It's an amazing illustration of the rock royalty circle he inhabited, able to contribute to the legacy of a figure like Dennis Wilson.
Finally, we have to acknowledge his work in film and his profound posthumous output. He made his acting debut playing the legendary proto-punk figure Iggy Pop in the 2013 film CBGB.
He later appeared as himself, along with the rest of the Foo Fighters, in the 2022 comedy horror film studio 666.
And even after his passing, his drum tracks continued to appear on major records, including Ozzy Osbourne's 2022 album Patient Number 9 and on Iggy Pop's 2023 album Every Loser. It just shows that his creative output was so vast, it continued to be released for years after he was gone.
So, having explored the sheer breadth of his professional life, let's dig into the man behind the kit. Let's talk about the drummer's DNA understanding the influences that forged that massive, stadium-shaking style.
When you look at his stated influences, you really see this fusion of technical proficiency and theatrical power. His drumming pantheon was composed almost entirely of classic rock giants.
The sources list an incredible roster: Phil Collins of Genesis, Stuart Copeland of The Police,
Budgie of Susie and the Banshees, Roger Taylor of Queen, Stephen Perkins of Jane's Addiction, Jim Gordon from Derek and the Dominos,
Neil Peart of Rush, Alex Van Halen, and of course John Bonham of Led Zeppelin.
That list isn't just a collection of famous names. It explains the versatility he possessed. I mean, think about what combining those styles implies.
Right. He had the ability to drive with Bonham's visceral power and swing, but also maintain Peart's complex structures and Copeland's signature syncopation.
And what's truly crucial to understanding his unique style is the importance of duality in his earliest major inspirations, Roger Taylor and Stuart Copeland.
Two very different drummers.
Very different. Taylor embodies that bombastic, big-kit showman, a drummer who is also a high-register vocalist and a flamboyant performer. Copeland, on the other hand, he's the master of rhythmic subtlety, space, and that intricate reggae punk syncopation.
And Hawkins just synthesized those contrasting forces.
Exactly. It gave him license to be both a precision player when the song required it and an over-the-top, deeply entertaining showman who could power a stadium.
That blend of technique and theater is what made him so captivating to watch. It's also remarkable how he used his platform to connect with these figures.
Yeah, he was once the guest editor for Rhythm magazine, and he used that opportunity not just for vanity, but for genuine journalistic inquiry. He interviewed his heroes, including Collins, Copeland, Taylor, and Perkins, for that issue.
His specific fascination with Phil Collins is particularly revealing.
It is. Hawkins recounted that his deep dive into Collins began after listening to Neil Peart, which led him to buy the Seconds Out live album from 1977. He spoke about this album with such deep respect.
And he didn't shy away from defending Collins either, who sometimes got a bad rap for moving out from behind the drums to take over lead vocals after Peter Gabriel left Genesis.
No, he passionately asserted that anyone who wants to be good on the drums should study Collins. He called him an incredible drummer, and the man is a master.
And that admiration for the drummer who sings, it clearly influenced Hawkins' own desire to take the lead mic in the Foo Fighters and in his own side projects.
We also know his early learning was intensely practical. He really honed his skills by just playing along to records. He specifically mentioned putting on Queen's News of the World and working his way through the grooves.
Which demonstrates that foundational connection to powerful, melodic, classic rock drumming.
It does. And a quick note on the tools he used to achieve that sound. For his signature stage presence, Hawkins endorsed and played Gretsch drums from 2005 until his death.
Gretsch drums are often associated with a very classic, slightly open and vintage-style sound, which fits his love for 70s rock.
Exactly. Earlier in his career, he had used Ludwig and Tama drums, but he was consistently known to use Zildjian cymbals, which are known for their clarity and the powerful volume you need for stadium rock.
So, moving from his artistic foundation, we need to address the human element, the personal challenges, and the health context.
Right.
We know he married his wife Allison in 2005. They had 3 children together, including their son Shane Hawkins, who has subsequently continued his father's musical lineage.
The family resided in Hidden Hills, California, after moving from Topanga Canyon in 2012.
Now, we have to factually recount a significant and pivotal personal challenge that happened early in his Foo Fighters career.
The 2001 overdose.
Yes. Hawkins overdosed on heroin while in London in August of 2001. This resulted in a 2-week coma.
This was a tremendous shock to the band, and especially to Grohl, who was described not just as his bandmate, but as his best friend.
The sources really convey the intensity of that moment. They state that Grohl remained by his hospital bedside for those 2 weeks and was so distraught by the potential loss that he later admitted he was ready to quit music during that period.
It was a massive trauma for the entire band. And Grohl channeled that emotional fallout into the song On the Mend, which appeared on the 2005 album In Your Honor. It was specifically written about Hawkins' journey while he was in the coma.
And Hawkins himself later provided some deep reflection on the incident.
He did. In a 2018 interview, he described it as a major turning point, and he clarified that he wasn't a junkie per se, but that his lifestyle and partying had just got a little too heavy.
He recalled that he woke up after taking a wrong line with the wrong thing one night and realized the profound danger he had put himself in.
And it's important to note his stated health status in that 2018 interview. Hawkins stated clearly that he was sober.
Yes, and it's crucial to place his final health comments on the record as they provide context for the later tragic events. He had been open about professional anxieties, admitting he suffered from stage fright throughout his career.
And then, less than a year before his death, in a June 2021 interview, Hawkins provided an update on his physical well-being.
He reported feeling healthy and good at that time. He specifically recounted a recent physical checkup where a doctor told him he was in amazing shape.
The doctor noted that his heart was big because you exercise a lot. It's like a runner's heart. This suggests that even late in his life, he was maintaining a very active physical condition.
The only potential issue the doctor noted at that time was sleep apnea.
Right, which Hawkins mentioned was a constant source of complaint from his wife due to snoring and weird noises. These specific medical details, provided by Hawkins himself less than a year prior, are vital to understanding the official facts surrounding his final moments.
Which brings us to the final dance and his enduring legacy. On March 25, 2022, Hawkins was in Bogota, Colombia. The Foo Fighters were scheduled to perform later that evening at the Estéreo Picnic Festival.
The circumstances leading to his death were confirmed at the Four Seasons Casa Medina Hotel. Hawkins complained of chest pains.
Emergency health personnel were called to his room, but upon arrival, he was found unresponsive. They performed CPR, but were unable to revive him.
And he was tragically declared dead at the scene at the age of 50. It's also noted in the sources that Mötley Crüe drummer Tommy Lee was one of the last people to speak to Hawkins, having a phone conversation with him just hours before his passing.
The day immediately following, Colombian authorities released a preliminary announcement based on toxicology screening. We must report this information impartially and precisely as it's presented in the sources.
Okay.
Colombian authorities stated that a preliminary urine toxicology test indicated that Hawkins had 10 substances in his system at the time of his death.
And these substances included opioids, benzodiazepines, tricyclic antidepressants, and THC.
Colombia's National Institute of Forensic Medicine immediately issued a statement clarifying that medical studies would continue for further clarification. The Attorney General's office would continue its investigation into the cause of death.
As we mentioned, sensitive information like this has to be handled with the utmost impartiality. However, subsequent reporting did introduce a layer of necessary context and controversy that we have to address.
That controversy arose from a Rolling Stone article published in May of 2022. The article alleged that Hawkins was suffering from extreme exhaustion in the months leading up to his death.
And had allegedly asked the band's management that no more dates be added to the scheduled tour.
The article also mentioned that since official autopsy results hadn't been made public, friends believed he was not using hard drugs recreationally at the time of his death, which complicates the interpretation of that initial toxicology report.
Furthermore, the article suggested postmortem forensics indicated his heart mass was about double normal size, which is medically known as cardiomegaly, raising the possibility that his heart could have collapsed regardless of the contribution of drugs in his system.
And this is where the impartial reporting is just essential. That specific report was met with strong public disavowals from two of the musicians interviewed for the piece.
Chad Smith and Matt Cameron both subsequently claimed that their quotes were misrepresented and sensationalized, which creates an unavoidable context for how that information was received by the public and by his peers.
Following his passing, the Foo Fighters canceled all upcoming shows via a brief emotional statement on Twitter on March 25. That very night, the stage at the Estéreo Picnic Festival in Bogotá, where they were supposed to headline, was quickly transformed into an emotional candlelight vigil.
Which just signifies that immediate, profound global reaction.
The scale of the subsequent tribute demonstrated the depth of his impact across the entire musical ecosystem. On June 8, 2022, the Foo Fighters and Hawkins family announced two massive tribute concerts for September 2022.
One at Wembley Stadium in London and one at the Kia Forum in Los Angeles. And the sheer roster of guest artists who showed up was unlike almost any other rock memorial event in recent history.
To articulate the scale of his reach, we have to list some of the giants who participated. Paul McCartney, Brian May, Roger Taylor, Geddy Lee, and Alex Lifeson of Rush.
Two of his key influences right there.
Exactly. Alanis Morissette, Tommy Lee, Pink, Miley Cyrus, Lars Ulrich, Chrissie Hynde, among dozens of others. Why did this one man command a tribute that involved multiple generations of rock icons from the 70s to the modern era, all on the same stage?
It's a testament to the fact that he was both a fan and a peer to all of them.
These events facilitated significant reunions as well, showcasing the weight of the moment.
Grohl's supergroup, Them Crooked Vultures, performed together for the first time in 12 years. Additionally, the legendary James Gang, featuring Joe Walsh, played together for the first time in 16 years.
These weren't just guest spots. They were historical moments leveraged by the respect they all held for Hawkins.
And perhaps the most emotional connection of the entire tribute came from his family. His son, Oliver Shane Hawkins, sat behind the kit and performed a breathtaking rendition of My Hero with a band in London.
That performance was so universally acclaimed that it earned Shane Hawkins the Drum Performance of the Year award at the Drumeo Awards.
And Shane has since played with Chevy Metal in his father's place, stepping directly into that rich musical lineage. It's incredible to see.
When we look back at the sheer volume of his professional output across his 30-year career, the discography alone is a monument.
8 studio albums with Foo Fighters, 3 with the Coattail Riders, 1 with the Birds of Satan, plus multiple EPs and high-profile session appearances across nearly 24 other projects. It just cements his status as one of the most prolific and creatively engaged rock figures of his generation.
So to synthesize all the material we've just reviewed, Taylor Hawkins' career arc was a story of rapid escalation and just unwavering commitment. He moved so swiftly from that high-visibility but temporary role as Alanis Morissette's touring drummer
to the essential defining role he held for 25 years in the Foo Fighters. And his contribution, it transcended the drums. He was a vital vocalist, a showman, and a core co-writer who helped maintain the band's anthemic quality and its stadium rock identity.
And all of this was accomplished while he simultaneously maintained a massive portfolio of outside collaborations,
constantly reflecting his deep admiration and connection to his classic rock heroes like Queen and Rush. His musical life was one of persistent, diverse, and energetic engagement.
So, what does this all mean for you, the learner? It means that the evidence of his legacy is vast and it's accessible. There's a wealth of material available to explore, from the 8 defining Foo Fighters studio albums to that star-studded Get the Money album by the Coattail Riders.
And the endless live footage that captures that unique, enthusiastic spirit on stage. He really defined what it meant to be the powerful, joyful locomotive behind a modern rock band.
And that constant theme of collaboration and influence truly defined his musical life.
It really did. And you have to wonder, what does it reveal about the rock ecosystem when one player, constantly busy with his main band and stadium touring, is still actively forming supergroups, lending his talent to everyone from Ozzy Osbourne and Iggy Pop to an unfinished Dennis Wilson track, and finding the time to guest edit a drumming magazine just to interview his heroes.
It's an incredible work ethic.
This unwavering dedication to diverse projects, even while committed to a major stadium band, it provides a rare model of creative restlessness and profound engagement in modern music that extends well beyond his central identity as a drummer.
Thanks for listening.